Hey, what's up, you guys? Johnny Beane here. This is Exclusively Van Halen, the Van Halen Show on YouTube. It's also a podcast on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Anyway, join us over on Facebook, Exclusively Van Halen Facebook group. We have a lot of people over there, and it's pretty awesome. So if you like Van Halen, if you're on Facebook, come on over. Nightbot has the link for you in the live chat. All right, let's do a show. Let's read a story here on, what channel is this?
Hey, this is Michael Anthony right here, and you are watching Exclusively Van Halen on the Johnny Beane TV. Keep it there. Woo! See ya!
Hey, what's up, you guys? Johnny Beane here. This is Exclusively Van Halen, the Van Halen Show on YouTube. We're also on, where are we? We're on X, we're on Twitch. Everywhere you get your podcast, you can listen. So if you like your Van Halen, this is the place you want to be right here. I mean, we just talked about the debut album, you guys. Anniversary, 48 years. We live all things Van Halen around here, so if you dig it, if you like Van Halen, I mean, this is the place you want to be. So make sure to smash that subscribe, smash that thumbs up, drop a comment down below, and cool. So, hey, let's read a story, you guys. Here we go. Let's go over to, where is this? Louder, over at Louder Classic Rock. He locked himself in the studio and threatened to burn the tapes. It was a standoff for almost a day. How Sammy Hagar helped Van Halen win the war against David Lee Roth. Van Halen lost a superstar singer when David Lee Roth quit the band, but a new frontman, Sammy Hagar, and Foreigner's Mick Jones ensured the loss was short-lived. Now, I'm sure if you're a Van Halen fan, you know some of this story. You've heard some of this, right? Mike Wood? I see you in the chat. Good to see you, man. By the way, this is written up by Paul Elliott for Classic Rock. There they are, right there. Van Halen, Van Hagar. I'll tell you guys, yeah, this was my era of the band. I got into Van Halen in 1985. 5150 was the first album I bought, brand new, and then from then on, bought the first album, and then everything after that. Hey, what's up, Sean? Good to see you guys. So let's read here. Let's check this out. Here we go. The announcement came on April Fool's Day, but it was no joke. America's biggest rock and roll band had lost their superstar singer. David Lee Roth had quit Van Halen. To everyone outside the band, it was shocking news. It was early 1985, and Van Halen were at the very top of their game. 2 years earlier, they had headlined the US Festival in San Bernardino, California, before an audience of 375,000 and pocketed a reported $1 million for their troubles. The following year, their single Jump topped the U.S. charts, and its parent album, 1984, was well on its way to selling 10 million copies. I mean, 1984, huge year for Van Halen. I mean, huge year for MTV, all that stuff. Definitely a great era in rock music. Eddie Van Halen was the most famous guitar player in the world. Yet, even he wasn't the biggest star in his own band. That was Diamond Dave, a fast-talking, high-kicking showman with a huge ego and endless supply of comic one-liners. I know some of those one-liners he actually got from Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, because I've heard the Rat Pack, and some of those one-liners they were doing in the 60s. So David Lee Roth did get some of those from them, but hey, it's all awesome. It's all good stuff. Let's see. It was Roth's oversized personality that made them super famous. To fans and media alike, the band would be sunk without David Lee Roth. There had always been conflict within Van Halen, and it reached critical mass months before Roth left. The band had I lost my place. Where am I? Disintegrated into a spiteful bunch of bleary-eyed, argumentative, procrastinating individuals. Oh my gosh. He later explained. Who? David Lee Roth said that? His exit had been carefully planned. The singer had been rehearsing in secret with a new band closely modeled on Van Halen. Right down to, hi, Mr. Mike. How do you say that word? Virtuoso? Huh, this guy right here?
Johnny.
Huh?
Hey, Johnny.
Who is it?
I'm over here.
Who is this?
I'm over here. Over here, Johnny.
Who
Hey,
is that?
Johnny, how you doing? This is Steve.
Steve Vai? No way. Virtuoso. Okay, now I can say that word. Right on. Wait, who else was in his band? I know that there was a few others, a couple other people in the band that we've heard of. I think there was this guy right here. Hey, this is Billy Sheehan. You're watching Johnny Beane TV.
Okay, ready?
Ready.
Hola, amigos. This is your bass player, Billy Sheehan. You're watching me right here on my dear friend, John. It went away.
Oh, no.
Johnny Beane. I can. We do radio IDs all the time, but if it's not written down, even if the guy is standing right there, it's a weird mental problem.
You said we're dear friends,
Johnny,
but then you couldn't remember my name.
Dear friend, what's it?
Who is that?
No, it's a weird thing. Whenever we do radio IDs or TV things, if it's not written down, you're lost. It's hilarious. But Johnny Beane, come on, here we go. Let's do take two. I'll get it this time. I swear to God.
All right, ready.
All right. Hola, amigos. This is Billy Sheehan, your bass player, here with my dear friend Johnny Beane. I never forget this guy. He's been so wonderful for me. Let me do take three. Sorry.
Thank you, Billy.
I overdid it now. Here we go. Hola, amigos. This is Billy Sheehan, your bass player, saying hello to you from the fabulous Johnny Beane Show. And thank you for having me on, Johnny. And I hope I see you all around. New Talus is out. New Winery Dog's coming. Gracias.
Yep, Billy Sheehan. And also this guy on drums.
Hey, it's Greg Bissonette. You're watching Johnny Beane TV.
There you go. So David Lee Roth had a brand new band. Been rehearsing in secret with a new band that closely modeled on Van Halen. Roth had already tested the water earlier at the start of 1985 with Crazy from the Heat, a 4-track covers EP which reached number 15 on the Billboard chart. In the race between Van Halen and their newly departed singer, the smart money was on Diamond Dave. I remember those music videos. MTV. Hey, David. What's up, man? Good to see you guys. thumbs up if you dig this stuff. MTV in 1985 was a pretty exciting time. There was a lot of cool stuff. I mean, music in the 80s. I mean, a lot of people, especially doing these shows, I get a lot of people telling me the 80s was the best era of music. And, I mean, even today, there's a lot of music out there that closely resembles 80s music. Right down to the synthesizer sounds, to the guitar styles. The 80s is back in style. I mean, just look at this shirt. Look at the shirt I'm wearing. I'm wearing a Guitar Center Hollywood shirt. Looks very 80s, right? With the sunset and the palm trees. The 80s is in style. And I think because of the internet, everything is in style now. There's nothing really out of style. I mean, there's an audience for everything these days. I think so. But Sammy Hagar had heard about Roth's departure before it was made public. He'd been tipped the wink by longtime Van Halen producer Ted Templeman, who had also worked on Hagar's last album, VOA. But it would be an unlikely figure who played Cupid and helped save Van Halen's career, the guy who fixed Hagar's car. And this is a quote from Hagar. My car mechanic, Claudio, is it Zempoli? I used to be Facebook friends with Claudio years ago. Was also Eddie's mechanic, Hagar says. One day when Eddie was picking up his car, he was telling Claudio, that Dave quit. Nobody knew. It wasn't public knowledge. And that's when Eddie saw my black Ferrari 512, the car I used in the video for I Can't Drive 55. He said, wow, nice car. Whose is it? Claudio said, it's Sammy Hagar's. You should give him a call. Get him in the band. And the rest is history. The rest is rock history. Roth might have gotten a head start, though, on his ex-bandmates. But the three people he'd left behind weren't about to just roll over and die. Eddie Van Halen did eventually make the call, and in Sammy Hagar found a new singer. With the charisma, the force of personality, and the brass balls to replace Diamond Dave. Together, they would make a comeback album that defied expectations by shooting #1 in the U.S., and with it, Van Halen won the war with Dave Lee Roth. Right, Janice the intern? I see you, Janice. Thank you, guys. Look at that. There's Sammy Hagar. I Can't Drive 55. The 80s, man. The 80s are cool. Sammy Hagar was always a cocky son of a bitch. Hey, I'm just reading the words. And in 1985, at the end of, at the age of 37, he had every right to be. The California native had first come to prominence in the early 70s as a singer for Montrose, the band who had a profound influence on America, hard rock in general, and Van Halen in particular. After being fired from Montrose, Hagar forged a successful solo career that reached a pinnacle with 1984's VOA and the single I Can't Drive 55, an all-American protest song from a fast car enthusiast, and the song that would indirectly play a part in him joining Van Halen. Hagar had been around long enough to trust his gut. After he heard about his mechanic's conversation with Eddie Van Halen, he had an idea of what was going to happen. I told my wife, they're going to call me, he says. And she goes, God, I hope not. She hated that band. That's new to me. I didn't know that. And I said, who else are they going to call? There's only a few guys that can sing at that caliber. And there's a certain chemistry you got to think of. Southern California guys. I kind of fit the image. There they are right there. Van Halen, Van Hagar, 1986. So cool, man. Look at Michael Anthony with the Gumby t-shirt. Yeah, these guys are cool, man. These guys are cool. Unknown to Hagar, Van Halen had considered several other singers, among them Cold Chisel frontman Jimmy Barnes, future Mr. Big vocalist Eric Martin, and even a female singer, Patti Smythe. But Hagar was in a different league, moreover. He knew and liked Eddie Van Halen. I'd met Eddie twice at festivals, he says. He was a Montrose freak, and I thought he was the nicest guy in the world. He was very naive, innocent, humble. He was like a kid. Hagar was sure Van Halen needed him. They were, in his words, high and dry. But he retained the mindset of a solo artist. I'd come off 3 platinum albums, he said. He says, I told Ted Templeman I'm going to get Eddie to play on my record. Now that would have been interesting. When the inevitable call came, that plan was quickly forgotten. Eddie was insistent, Hagar says. He was like, you gotta come tomorrow. I said, I just got home from tour. I ain't gonna do nothing tomorrow. But within a few days, Hagar was at Eddie's home in LA's Coldwater Canyon. There they are right there. Yeah, these guys are cool. I like these guys. I like Van Halen. The house was modest, described by Hagar as a 2-bedroom country-style place. Small, not a badass house whatsoever. In the adjacent garage was Eddie's recording studio, 5150, named after the Californian police term for a mentally disturbed person. It had been designed by Don Landy, the engineer who had assisted Templeman on every Van Halen album, and also the 2 albums Hagar recorded with Montrose. In the weeks prior to Hagar's arrival, the band, Eddie and his brother, drummer Alex Van Halen, plus bassist Michael Anthony, had begun work on some new songs recorded by Landy. Hagar admits he was a little nervous on that day. It wasn't like I was auditioning, he says, but if you walk in and start singing with the band, you can feel pretty effing uncomfortable. Eddie walked him into the studio to meet with the other guys. Also present were Don Landy and the brothers' jazz musician dad, Jan Van Halen. Hagar noticed that the band were frazzled from a lack of sleep. They'd been up all night, he says. I was impressed with the work ethic, but I was thinking these guys are effing crazy. Van Halen, Love Walks In, Live Without a Net. By the way, you guys, Live Without a Net is being remastered and released coming up. We talked about this, right, Mike Wood? Record Store Day coming up. It's going to be released on vinyl for the first time. Well, the first time officially. You know, if you're a Van Halen collector like I am, you know, there's been many releases over the years, bootleg releases of Live Without a Net, or just bootleg concerts in general on vinyl, CD, cassette. But 5150 is being remastered. It's coming out, an expanded edition, and it's going to include Live Without a Net, and we're all very excited about that. Very cool. Let's see. He was also astonished at the conditions inside the studio. It was a mess, he laughs. There must have been 300 beer bottles and cans lying around. Half of them had beer in them and old cigarettes. Every ashtray was overflowing with cigarette butts. There were butts left on the floor. Left burnt on the floor. The place stunk like a effing bar that hadn't been cleaned in 100 years. Eddie's guitars were everywhere. Maybe 30 guitars laying against walls on the floor, just knocked over. That's pretty cool. I would love to see a photo of that. First they talked. They knew Sammy could sing. What they needed was a sense of whether he would fit the band as a personality. The last thing they wanted was another Roth. As the talk turned to business, Hagar was struck by their How do you say that word, Mike Wood? Wait a minute. I don't know what that's going to show. Let's not show that. I asked 3 questions, he says, like, how much did you net on the last tour? I realized I was making 3 times more money than any one of those guys. They'd been spending most of it, splitting it 4 ways. I'm thinking, do I really want to be in a band like this and take a pay cut? Naivety. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's a Van Halen Leviathan nut clip. Cool. As soon as they started jamming, everything changed. The band played a grooving mid-tempo riff, and Hagar jumped on it. I started singing to it, making up words, he recalls, and right off the bat, I sang Summer Nights and My Radio. They all got excited. Oh, man, this guy can sing. And Jan was digging that, and I could scat like a jazz singer. I wish there was video of this, man. That would be so cool. The jam session lasted from noon till midnight without a break. They went through all the song ideas the band had, including the punchy riff that would form the basis for the track Good Enough. Don Landy got it all down on tape. The following day, after Hagar had gone back to his home in Mill Valley, California, he listened again to what they had recorded. It sounded good. So good. What song is that, Mr. Mike? So good that Hagar made his decision there and then. He called Eddie and told him, I want to do it. Eddie was ecstatic. Then Hagar called his manager, Ed Loeffler. I'm doing it. Loeffler's first reaction was disbelief. You're effing crazy. After a moment's thought, he added, let me talk to David Geffen. For Hagar to join Van Halen, an agreement would have to be negotiated between his label, Geffen Records, and the band's own label, Warner Brothers. Hagar knew that this would not come easily. He was Geffen's biggest artist, and owner David Geffen was not just going to let him go. But Hagar was not inclined to wait. He celebrated with his new bandmates at a Mexican restaurant in Hollywood. We ate tacos, drank margaritas, and laughed all night, he recalls. There's Sammy and Edward. Farm Aid. I've never seen that photo, actually. That's cool. Actually, yeah, I think maybe I've seen this. That is cool, man. Yeah, you guys know. You guys might know, I don't know. I'm a huge Van Halen guitar freak, and seeing like cool photos of Eddie's guitars is always pretty cool stuff. Okay, let's see. Okay, and a period of intense rehearsals began as Hagar moved into a rented house in LA. They had 5 new songs written and partly recorded before Geffen shook hands on a deal with Warner's president, Mo Austin. Sammy, you have no effing idea what you cost me. Austin later told the singer, though the mogul knew it was a price worth paying after he heard the song that would become Van Halen's comeback single. The band had already recorded a demo of Why Can't This Be Love? But when Austin visited 5150, they chose to perform the track live off the studio floor, with Eddie playing keyboards and Hagar on guitar. That freaked him out to begin with, Hagar says. But when we finished playing it, Mo had the biggest grin on his face. He put his finger in the air and said, I smell money. I've heard that quote before. That's pretty cool. And from this defining moment, another important decision was reached, such with the stature of David Lee Roth and one Warner's exec. In all seriousness, suggested the band suggested the band be renamed Van Hagar, according to Hagar. This idea was considered for one day. At first, I was flattered, he admits, but then I thought, F that. This is Van Halen. I'm joining them. We're not starting another band. More importantly, Hagar had total self-belief. In his mind, he was better qualified than Roth to be the singer in Van Halen. Let's see. Hey, Mike Wood, I see you're over on X. If you're still over there, could you retweet that, please? I've noticed the live streams to X. I don't know, something weird's happening over on X as far as the live broadcasts. If you could retweet that and perhaps mention me in that too, that would help. Thank you so much, man. I see you over there, man. There's another clip. Why Can't This Be Love? That's actually not from Live Without a Net. That's a different show. That is so cool. Cool stuff, man. I was a fan of the band, he says, but Roth... Oh, no. Where are we? But Roth always bugged me. He was fake and contrived. If anything, Dave had been mimicking me. He started wearing bandanas after I did. He started drinking Jack Daniels on stage after I did. I didn't have enough respect for him to fear that job. As Van Halen continued working on the new album at 5150, there was one notable absentee. For the first time in the band's career, they were making an album without producer Ted Templeman. Worse, Templeman was producing Roth's full-length solo record. Van Halen viewed this as an act of betrayal. We were the anti-Roth camp, Hagar says. He was the enemy of all enemies. Not to me. I didn't even know the fucker. But I'm a team player. And he's the enemy, right? So, Ted Templeman was too. By the way, Ted Templeman is from Santa Cruz, which is where I am. Mr. Mike, over on Twitch? You're over on Twitch too. Right on, man. By default, Don Landy assumed the role of producer. Hagar had doubts about this, but the others were happy enough. The music was flowing out of them, and for Eddie, the band's primary songwriter, working with Hagar was a revelation. There's a great photo of Hagar and Van Halen on stage. Right there. 5150 tour. Look, they're jumping around. Man, what a great era. From the first second, Sammy could do anything I threw at him, Eddie told Rolling Stone. It just opened a whole new door. Finally, we felt like we were four people with a common vision. All of a sudden, everything felt complete. Synth-heavy ballad Love Walks In was the best example of how Eddie's writing was developing. It wasn't the first Van Halen song based around synthesizers, nor was it the first ballad, but it had something new, a deep emotional quality. The first time Eddie played me that song, late one night, I got goosebumps, Hagar says. It was beautiful. I wrote the lyrics on the spot, and I sang it live with a handheld mic. If you listen closely, it ain't the best vocal sound in the world, but the performance is slammin'. More typical of Van Halen was the hard rock anthem Best of Both Worlds. It's such a funky song, he says. That's R&B played full volume. All right. I'm still reading. We just lost the crashed over on the laptop. I'm still reading though. You guys can still hear. We're still here, right? Yeah, we're still here. Okay. I'll continue reading some of this. Let's see. Where were we? More typical the hard rock anthem Best of Both Worlds. It's such a funky song, he says. That's R&B played full volume. There was also a goofy throwaway track Inside, on which the new Van Halen made jokes at the expense of their former singer. If they sounded drunk on that track, it was, according to Hagar, a fairly accurate representation of the way these guys operated. I wasn't a big drinker, he says, but the whole time we were making the record, everybody had a beer constantly except me. Eddie would say, I got to take a piss. He'd come back with 2 beers, one for him and one for Al. And Al would do the same. Only sometimes he'd bring 2 or 3 beers for himself and one for Ed. Ed would drink all day and night. I just wished I could play that great sober. Hagar could tolerate the drinking. What he couldn't do was let the band finish the album without the aid of a producer. It was too important for that. I felt that Don Landy was just an engineer, Hagar says, and Ed wasn't a strong leader who would produce a record. So I said, we need a producer. How about Mick Jones? The guys said, sure. We were a very diplomatic band. Mick Jones, the guitarist and founding member of Foreigner, had known Hagar since the 70s, when Montrose had toured with Jones' former band, Spooky Tooth. He had co-produced many of Foreigner's biggest albums, including the multi-platinum 4. I thought Mick was a great songwriter and helped us hone our songs, says Hagar. There's a great photo of them. Let me get this back up. I don't know why this crashed. What happened? Oh yeah. Let's jump back in. I want you guys to see this. Yeah, what happened was this pop-up popped up on the article, and I guess it knocked it off offline or something. It was kind of weird. Enter studio. If you guys dig this stuff, smash that thumbs up. Okay, share screen. I need ad blocker. Okay, share screen, share screen. Is that ad still there? Yeah, it's still there. Let me get rid of it. Well, see, my laptop. Oh, what just happened? Okay, here we go. There they are. There they are. That's a cool photo. There we go. I think. We back? You should see Van Halen in a second. There they are. We're back. There they are. Look at that. All right. Van Halen, 1986 era. Jones was in L.A. when Hagar contacted him. Immediately, he agreed to go up to 5150 and hear some music and talk with the band. Sammy picked me up, Jones says, today. As we were driving up to the studio, I said, what should I expect up there? He said, Mick, you and I have been around a while. Let me tell you, this is something else. Hold tight and enjoy the ride. The first track the band played for Jones was a frantic heavy metal blowout, Get Up. That was all it took for him to sign up as producer. I've never heard anything like that in my life, he told them. It sounds like four guys fighting inside the speaker cabinets, beating the shit out of each other. I'm in. Hagar's instinct was right. A proven hitmaker, Jones brought his wisdom to bear on Van Halen's new songs. He helped turn Why Can't This Be Love from a lengthy gem into a bona fide hit in waiting. He encouraged the band to develop an Eddie Van Halen keyboard riff into the barreling Dreams, coaxing out one of Hagar's greatest ever vocal performances, and I agree with that. Dreams is definitely one of Hagar's best performances there is. In the process, I was able to push Sammy to new heights, says Jones. Literally, he was singing so high that he was hyperventilating. He almost passed out. Oh my gosh. There's the 1993 Whiskey A Go-Go version of Dreams. That's cool. Jones took a different approach with Eddie, just letting him do his thing. There's not much I could have done to improve Eddie's performances, he says. He was completely out there, not drug-wise. He just went into a trance state as he played. In these moments, Jones was reminded of the times he spent with Jimi Hendrix in the late 60s, when Jones was the guitarist for French superstar Johnny Hallyday, and Hendrix was the opening act on a European tour. When I worked with Eddie, it was the first time I'd met a guitar player who had a similar gift, who had that thing running through him from up above, he says. As work on the Van Halen album neared completion in December 1985, there was a buzz in the air at 5150. We all felt, Hagar says, that the music we were making was on such a high level, we just didn't feel like anyone could touch that. There was a quote that was said maybe 5 times a day. Wait till the fans hear this shit. We knew. But there was one person who wasn't smiling. From the first day that Mick Jones arrived at 5150, he had sensed animosity from Don Landy. Don had expected he would produce the album, Jones says, so there was an atmosphere of resentment between him and me. That's a cool shot. I don't think I've ever seen that one. Sammy Hagar jumping. That's a great shot right there. Jones handled this with quintessential British reserve until, that is, Landy flipped. Don had a bad moment, says Jones. He locked himself in the studio and threatened to burn the tapes. It was a standoff for almost a day, like one of those situations where somebody's going to commit suicide. He was very highly strung, but in the end, we talked him down. Surprisingly, there was no repercussions for Landy. He cleared the air with Jones, and together they completed the final mix of the album in January 1986. We had to work fast, Jones says. The band was booked. The band had a tour booked. Van Halen, There's Only One Way to Rock, right there. On a sunny day in February, Mick Jones was driving in a convertible sports car. The top-down radio turned to the rock station when the DJ announced in an excited voice, "Here's something brand new from Van Halen." He played Best of Both Worlds. Jones cranked the volume. It sounded amazing, he says. He was certain that Van Halen had nailed it. In early March came the first single, Why Can't This Be Love? Why Can't This Be Love was an instant hit, rising to number 2 on the U.S. charts. 5150 itself was released on March 24th. It was an out-of-the-box success. The album went platinum in 1 week. Hagar says it was the fastest million-selling record in Warner's history. The reconfigured Van Halen kicked off their first tour on March 27th in Shreveport, Louisiana. The first song they played was Hagar's 1982 hit, There's Only One Way to Rock. Coming from Van Halen, it was a powerful statement of unity. It's a cool shot. Sammy Hagar, 5150 tour. Very cool. A few weeks later, before a show in Atlanta, Georgia, the 4 members of Van Halen were summoned to their manager's hotel suite for a meeting. Champagne was poured, and the band were told the record was at number 1. We fucking partied, Hagar says. It was such a high. None of us had ever had a number 1. There were attempts to spoil the party by a small number of old-school Van Halen fans loyal to Roth. At several shows, banners were held up. F. Hagar, where's Dave? Sammy sucks. We want Roth. Wait, that sounds like some people in my Van Halen group on Facebook. By the way, join that group if you want to read some of that. Nightbot has it in the chat right there. Oh my gosh. Hagar claims that Roth had a hand in this. Dave would pay for these guys' tickets, he says, but the truth is we didn't give enough. We were selling records faster than they could print them, and we were selling out every show. We felt invincible. In July, Roth's album Eat 'em and Smile was released. It peaked at number 4 on the U.S. charts. Hagar insists that Roth's failure to match Van Halen's #1 was not a cue for another celebration. We didn't care about him, he says. We were so absorbed in our own success, but the numbers would tell the story. Roth's album sold 1 million to Van Halen's 5 million. The enemy had been defeated. When Sammy Hagar reflects on what he calls my crazy ride with Van Halen, he has mixed emotions. But Hagar is not a man who holds grudges. The bad shit doesn't carry with me, he says. As bad as it was at the end of my time with that band, I'm not mad at anyone. I have no resentments, no regrets. As Hagar says, that music was never better than on 5150. It was a mind blower to have the success that we had with that record, a second run for the band. It was kind of a miracle in rock and roll. The fans could have rejected it, but they bought into our trip. I would say that record was the highlight of my musical career, and the power in those songs. You can still feel it. It's a great album. It is a great album. So this feature originally appeared in Classic Rock, number 194, published in March 2014. Whoa. 12 years ago. There we go. This is written up by Paul Elliott. The laptop is crashing. That's what happens. So, very cool, dudes. And by the way, newest issue of Guitar World has Edward and Sammy on the cover. The making of Van Halen's 5150, the greatest album of 1986, and the greatest albums of 1986. Very cool. Very cool stuff. By the way, I'm going to give you guys a link to something else here as well. There's a YouTube channel called, let me find it, Music Media Archives. Now, they dropped a pretty amazing Van Halen soundboard audio this morning. I'm going to send you guys over there. I want you guys to drop a comment over there saying Johnny Beane sent us. So, Music Media Archives YouTube channel has been, they've been dropping soundboard recordings from the last leg of the Diver Down tour, 1983 in South America. There's the link right there. Click on that link. Check that out. That's the very last show they did for the Diver Down tour. This was right before they did the US Festival. So this is a pretty unique show. You could tell they were celebrating on this. Just the way they're playing, Roth singing, lyrics that he does. It's a pretty unique Van Halen show. So you guys haven't heard anything like this. It's pretty cool, Mike Wood. Definitely check that out if you haven't heard it. And like I said, if you would, drop a comment over there saying Johnny Beane sent us over. I would appreciate that. So there you go, you guys. Pretty cool stuff, you guys. Van Halen. Van Halen, man. I mean, what a cool band. And to have two eras of that. You already did it? All right, let me go over there. I'll comment back here. Here, let's go sort by newest. There you are. Johnny Beane sent me. Hey, man. There we go. There you go. I just commented back, dude. Right on. Cool. So, yeah, check that out, man. It's awesome stuff. So, right on, dudes. All right. Well, hey, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much for hanging out, and very interesting story. The background on Sammy Hagar joining the band, and just some cool stories, you know, from that era. Janice says that was interesting. Yeah, it was pretty cool, you know. And like I always tell you guys, you know, in rock music and music history, there's a lot of stuff that everything is connected. You guys, I mean, Mick Jones coming in to co-produce Van Halen from Foreigner. They had some monster hits, the band Foreigner. Although, you know, the band is still around today touring, but it's none of the original members anymore. But it's still out there playing the songs, you know. So, but Mick Jones having a hand in Van Halen's success with Sammy Hagar 5150. Pretty cool stuff. So, Mike. All right, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. Channel members, top tier channel members. Thank you guys for being channel members here on Johnny Beane TV. Top tier, the executive producers. They are Michael B. Live, Music Therapy Laz, Majestic PB, NJ Cat, Flipper Carlin, Bay Area Rich, Sherman Callahan, Nova 9 Music, R. Habs, and Janice Lawley, the intern. Thank you guys, and thank you to all our channel members. Thank you for your continued support for this channel and these shows. Where is it? We got the wrong. It's this one. There we go. That one. There they are. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you for being top tier channel. Thank you for being channel members. All of it. Thank you guys for watching. And I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys on the next show. Okay? And watch another video. I know I usually say that at the end of the show, but I'm saying it now. All right. You guys, thanks so much for watching, and I'll leave you guys with a couple channel IDs and shout-outs right here on what channel is this?
Hi, this is Dweezil Zappa, and you're watching Johnny Beane TV.
Sammy.
What's up, dude?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. You want to film? You can film all you want, man. What do you want me to tell you in that camera? Hey, happy birthday to you, man.
Thanks. I'm Johnny Beane. I've met you a few times.
Johnny Beane?
Johnny Beane.
Hey, Johnny Beane. Sammy Hagar here, man. Congratulations.
There you go.
And
then I'll give you mine, so come back around this way. Okay,
Let's go.
all right. Mike, hi.
How you doing?
I'm Johnny Beane. I met you last year. I talked to you on Google+.
Oh, I remember you. Yeah.
I look like,
All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
all right.
He was at a Google Plus hangout.
I'm Johnny Beane.
I just want to be like, how old are you?
Hey, it's Lori Tucker, and
Johnny Beane,
we're here at the Forum, and we're going to see
Sammy
Sammy
Hagar.
Hagar. And you're watching Johnny Beane TV. Stay tuned.
Hey, this is Michael Anthony right here, and you are watching Exclusively Van Halen on the Johnny Beane TV. Keep it there. Woo! See ya!
Thank you, Michael Anthony. You guys, thank you so much for watching. Click on another video on the screen here. Drop your comments below. What'd you think of the story? Let us know. And again, join my Van Halen group on Facebook. Nightbot has the link for you. We're growing over there. Over 71,000 members. So join us on Facebook. All right. I'll see you guys next time here on Johnny Beane TV.